Hi, I'm Rick Sanders.
And I'm Christine DeMeo. Welcome to Gigging Solo. Rick, what's been going on with you, man?
I got busy again. It's actually kind of nice to be busy, but
that is nice.
Mostly nice. I maybe have some anxiety issues around just how busy I am right now, but the mental health episode's going to come in the future. I've actually been doing something completely different, and we've talked about it on the podcast, which is that opportunity I had to do some booking for one of the local venues. Now it's like I'm actually in that process now. I'm like having conversations with acts, and it's been really eye-opening, and I will say so far pretty successful. The power of spreadsheets compels my process as always. It's been. Telling you spreadsheets undervalued. We're going to get to at some point the skills that are useful outside of it, and I'm afraid spreadsheet making might be on that list.
Bring it on, Rick. I'm ready for it.
You just as long as you make them, as long as there are useful skills, but whatever. That's part of my long ago journey into honestly software. But no, it's been really interesting. As I try to basically navigate, I've been checking in with the venue to make sure, because I'm an intermediary between the venue and the folks that I'm booking. And so it's a little different. I'm not, my liability, I guess, is different. Really, I'm just trying to funnel, make sure that the right paperwork is in there and the right dates are confirmed and the communication happens. But I'm not I guess the buck doesn't technically stop with me. It stops at the venue. So there's making sure the venue is comfortable with the messaging, the way I'm handling it, checking in with my predecessor who recommended me for the role. It's been cool. It's been very illuminating, I think, being on the other side of the table, I'd say.
Yeah, I bet. And I'm sure that because of this, you're going to have plenty of new information to share with us when we get into the topic at hand.
Yeah, let's hold on the topic for a second. I want to check in. How are you doing, actually?
Oh, I'm doing good. It started to get busy for me as well. I had a little moment of oh my gosh, my calendar is really starting to fill up. So that's a good thing, and also, it can give me some anxiety because I'm like, okay, I still have to make sure I take my time off to just be a normal human and have fun. So, but that's been good. And tomorrow, because we're recording this before St. Patty's Day, tomorrow I've got a midday gig where I'll be playing 2:30 to 5:30. I think that's the time slot I'm doing. Anyway, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I've done this gig now, I want to say, for 3 years in a row. It's at a really cool little spot here in Hot Springs called Washita Bar and Grill. And they just have live music all day long. And so it's neat.
Cool. Yeah,
it is. It's really, I just got to give a shout out to a couple of different venues. I'm not going to say all their names, but there are some really cool venues here in Hot Springs that are big live local music supporters, and they just really create a cool space for artists like myself to perform and entertain. And I think they do just such a good job at especially at OEG. Like I said, they're just such a fun venue. They've got a great outdoor patio. I love playing there. They always have these cool block party events, and they just support the live music, and people like yourself and I we really appreciate that.
I mean, here. I mean, in truth, I don't know if I ever said this exactly, but when I got reached out to do the booking at this venue, one of the reasons I wanted to do it was it's actually one of my favorite places to play, and I appreciate that it's a place that prioritizes. I'm like, well, I don't want that to go away. And, and it was kind of already in line with what I wanted to do, which is learn a bit more about how that worked. So, but for me, it was an appreciation of the venue. I'm like, yeah, I want to work with these people. I mean, they seem to really support live music in the area. And that whole area, I have to shout out to Half Moon Bay, which is this cute place in the coast near me that I do half of my gigs on the coast there for some reason.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm actually curious, by the way, when you do so for your set tomorrow as we record this, are you leaning into Irish bands at all or doing anything to your set list?
I can honestly say I am not. I will have some in between set Irish music playing just because I think it's hilarious. And before I was really, because I've been playing music now for the bulk of my living for few years now. But I remember when I was in my 20s, which was a long time ago, I just loved St. Patrick's Day because I would just rock out some Irish pub music, drive around downtown. It's just hilarious. And I got to where that's where it probably started in my 20s. When I was like 25. If I did play a gig, I was like, well, I'm not going to cover any Irish music because I just wouldn't do it justice. But I am going to make sure I bump that Irish music during my breaks, so that people get the whole vibe. But I do love stuff like that. So I won't be playing any Irish tunes, though. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
I mean, you cover the Cranberries, right?
Oh, well,
I mean, like, not necessarily Irish traditional music, but like Irish bands.
Yeah, for sure. But, I'm just getting ready to do, like I said, the St. Patty's Day event. And then I got a couple other gigs this weekend. I'm actually looking at a new piece of gear. And I'll try to, I know, it's a sickness I have. We'll have to dive into it at a later episode. But I think I told you I have 2 HX Stomps.
Yeah.
And one of them's just for my guitar only pedal board where I only play guitar and sing. And it's great, but I've kind of been wanting a bigger layout with some more buttons because with the HX Stomp, in order to get more buttons, you have to add a foot switch or a MIDI controller or something. And I've got that, but...
Or you can use your RC600 as an external switch for your HX Stomp. I have a video I'm working on that.
But I'm not using my RC600 when I play.
I kid.
So... I'm just, I'm looking at the Line 6 Pod Go right now.
Yeah.
I really like the layout. I think it's going to do more than just the job for me personally. I think it's going to be a great little tool. There's a ton of resources for it on YouTube. So I just feel like that's probably going to be the way that I go to replace the HX Stomp on my old board. Mm-hmm. So today I'll hopefully be switching over my Seafoam Green HX Stomp to my looping board. And then once I'm done doing that, I'll wipe my black HX Stomp and hopefully eventually get that Pod Go and start getting it dialed in. Cause here in a few months, I feel like it's coming up fast. I'll be in Key West with that band that I play with literally in June. So I kind of need to get things dialed in and get comfortable and make sure I got all the sounds that I want on this device. So that's what I'll be doing.
Does the Pod Go have a expression pedal built into it, kind of thing?
It does. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of like an all-in-one solution, and I thought it was more of a toy, and I don't know why I did, because the more I see on it on YouTube, the more I see that it's actually a pretty powerful device. I mean, it's not a Helix, but it's a Line 6 product, and it has like all of the same sounds that the Helix and the HX Stomp have. It's got a couple of drawbacks that I've read about, and one of them is DSP. And another one, DSP is just like, how much, I'm try to say this right. It's basically just like how much power you've got in the pedal. Like how hard can you run this thing? How many effects can you stack? Mm-hmm. And then the other one that people don't like is that it comes with a built-in couple of blocks like EQ, a volume pedal, or a whammy pedal. And I'm like, I don't think that's a problem because I've seen a lot of videos where they're like, actually, you can use this EQ as a boost and you can do this. And I'm like, this is going to be fine, I think. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to checking it out some more. I played one at Guitar Center the other day and I actually really liked it from what I got to fiddle around with it.
I might be going to a Guitar Center later today. I may actually have to look one of those if they have it there.
Yeah, it's cool.
My aim actually is we have actually talked about this. I'm taking piano lessons, and Todd, who we referenced in the podcast before, he has like I don't know what. I'm sorry, any keyboard players out there. I'm all thumbs at this, but like he had kind of a nice one with weighted keys, but he's using it for a band, so we had it set up in the studio so I could practice on it, and he had to take it out and replace it with something with like these cheap plastic keys. I'm like, I don't want to touch this thing. So I'm like, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to go. I'm enjoying playing piano just enough that I'm going to go get like just a practice level piano with weighted keys to have in my apartment. So I'm aiming at maybe getting that today, and we'll see.
Nice. I got a, what is it? I got like a Casio.
Yeah, it's something like
It wasn't super expensive either.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
a
looking at like
Casio
I'm looking at like a
40
Yamaha
something.
that's like a $400 piano or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need it's not going to be for the stage. So I just literally need something I will like to play, that I can hear the sounds and I can practice.
I totally get it.
I have one last question about your gig tomorrow and about St. Patty's Day before we go to our topic, which is a green beer, yes or no?
You know, that's a hard no. I'm not a beer drinker. I'm not a beer drinker anyway. And the green beer really just, I don't know, just they were drinking it. I had a gig yesterday at a vineyard, and they had some green beer that they were serving, and I was just like, that just doesn't look like something I'd enjoy, you know? So
I don't think it's really funny. I am a beer drinker. I don't think I've ever had the green beer. But I was at one point, I think it was actually I was playing at a cider place, and it was around Pride. It was like in June here. And they had a rainbow flight. But it was like, I forget what the green was. It might have actually been like, I think it was like a yellow, like a pineapple cider with some food dye in it, so it turned it green. So not a fake green cider. It was tasty, but yeah, that's as close as I've come.
some ciders.
Cider's
I might
good.
Drink a green cider.
Yeah, I'm actually playing at a cider bar this weekend coming. So I do like
cool.
Yeah, it's on the coast. A really cute spot called Ocean Ciders. Shout out to Meredith, one of my early patrons as I was just getting myself started. So we're just shouting at everyone around here now.
I know, right? Everybody gets a shout out. Shoot.
And speaking of shout outs, here we go. Look at that pristine
Let's shout it out.
cut over. I want to shout out actually Aaron Lehmann, who one of our friends. Well, I don't. Do we have friends of the pod yet? Is that a thing yet? We haven't had any interviews, but he's like a friend of both of our live streams. You see him on our live streams, and he's
I think he's a friend of the pod. I mean,
yeah,
I think he's subscribed to our channel and he's listening to the episodes.
We'll say friend of the pod. So anyway, we got a nice comment. We're a few episodes ahead, obviously. If you were listening to this episode as a release and thinking back, St. Patty's Day, it's probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago or something like that. But so, we're trying to get this whole podcasting going, whatever. That's the fourth wall. You don't get to see through that one. But what we are doing is now we actually do have a live podcast and actual listeners. Aaron had a nice comment, I thought, on it was Garage to Gig. I think it's episode 2. Is that 2? That sounds right. I think that's episode 2.
Yes. I think that's right.
And I want to read his comment. I'll put it on the screen in post and editing. And he says, in reference to Garage to Gig, if you don't mind, in the future, do a part 2 of this, but kind of delve into how to lock down gigs. Because it's so hard for me to get booked, and it could be where I live, it could be me. But I reach out and introduce myself, I do all this stuff, and I barely get gigs. It's all no, and I can handle the no. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything and therefore missing out on that yes. And this is I think a really good comment because, we've talked around this idea of how to get yourself in the door. We literally say it in our intro, get yourself in the door and stay in those doors. We've talked about staying in those doors a lot, but getting in the doors is a bit of an imperfect science. And as I'm now doing booking, as you previously alluded, it's something that I think we want to, that it's worth a conversation. There's no silver bullets here, but there are a bunch of things you can do to kind of set yourself up for success. And like Aaron says, to give yourself a chance at that yes.
Yeah, I agree. There are some things that I have learned, I feel, along the way. And one of the things that actually I want to say is probably one of the most important things is having a audio sample, or even better, like a video. Because if you're pitching yourself to somebody and you're just sending a message and says, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, I do this, this, and that. You should book me." And then they're going to be like, I have no idea what you sound like. And they're just not going to be very inclined to want to book somebody. They have absolutely no reference of their talent and ability. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't hire a plumber without any credibility or reviews, So for me, when I am reaching out to a new venue, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself. When I'm reaching out to a new venue, there is something very important that I do. I try to keep my introduction short, sweet, and to the point, but also with a hint of, realism, I guess, more relationship. But I definitely always put a link to one of my YouTube covers in the message, because that way they don't gotta go, oh, well, book me at your venue, but let me send you this and that. No, it needs to be all in that one message that you send. Make it easy for them. They already have a million other things they're doing, and usually booking music is the last thing on their mind, and it's usually not the thing they want to do. It's usually just something that's thrown on their plate that they have to do. So make it as easy as possible. Put that video link, put that audio link in the message to where they can just literally click it and be like, okay, cool. She does sound pretty good. Let's do it.
Can I ask a question, actually? Because I feel like in the age of like portable video, like everyone has a portable video recorder in their pocket, like we all do at this point. Is audio ever enough, do you think? I guess I could see some gigs where you're like, for instance, maybe auditioning to be in a band, or the people want to know what you sound like. But like if you're pitching a performance, do you think an audio version of that is sufficient at this point?
You know what? I'm actually gonna say no. I don't think it's enough. People need to, because let's just be real. We live in the world of AI, and we live in the world of auto-tune, and everybody can sound good, and you don't have to have any talent. So for me personally, when it comes to pitching myself to a venue, I always I attach a live cover of mine in the message, because that way they can see like, oh, she's literally playing this. I'm hearing a live recorded version of this song. And even the songs that I record in the studio here, they're done live.
Yeah.
Like as I'm looping this thing, it's getting recorded. And then when I get done, the only thing I'm doing maybe in a post is literally a little bit of EQ.
Yep.
So I personally do think that audio is not enough. I think people need to see your physical presence doing the task at hand, so that they know that you're capable of doing what you say you're capable of doing.
Yeah. So I was asking that because in sincerity, because like so having a whole week and a half of experience doing booking, one of the things that surprised me the most is, and I haven't had a lot of, this is a small sample size. So for any statisticians out there, I recognize this is not like, science in that sense. But like, I was shocked that I got any actually emails from people, and I'm not calling anyone out, I'm not putting anyone on blast here. I was surprised I got any emails from people that did not include video, honestly. And most of the messages I got out of a small sample size did not have video. One also had a broken website link. Don't do that also. I don't think that's on our list.
Check
but like,
your stuff first, please.
Yeah. But one of the things for me is like, when I know, okay, like I got for instance, this person is a great like songwriter or a great solo or a great singer or whatever. And I'm like, if you don't at least in text describe what it is your live show is, what am I even booking? Like, and this is me putting on a hat I've never had to put on before. I'm like, wow, I want to see a video to know, what does your live show even look like? Like, what are you playing the tracks? Are you engaging with the audience? Like, do you have any personality at all? Not to be mean, but like, that's a big part of it. It's like I am booking you as a live act. You've given me effectively nothing to work with. And I think that's like, again, putting my, I've had this hat for, it's a very shiny hat. I've had it for like a week and a half, but like, there's something that's really interesting. It's like, wow, I never would have thought you wouldn't do this, but, and I do think the live footage is, any footage is good. It could be a curated cover. Because people can at least dream on that. It's okay. This was a real performance, with video, it is harder to fake, right? Like you say, in the world where people can auto-tune and fake things pretty easily. But if you have just like some live footage, I have on my website, I have I think it's a minute and a half. It's a little sizzle reel of me in a bunch of different venues. I just this is me playing different places. I really do this thing, and here's what that basically looks like and sounds like. It's just a lot easier to imagine, is this person a fit or not? And that's the question you're trying to answer for them. I mean, maybe the answer is no, you're not a fit, but you want to give them a true picture of you to answer that question the way that, you want them to answer it, which is like, because if it's not a fit, let me tell you, it's miserable playing those gigs when you don't fit in. But like, you want to make sure that they're making that decision with like the best information possible. And I think video is also pretty much a
standard now.
Yeah, it's kind of a requirement at this point, especially if you're like booking a live act.
I do want to add something to this though, because it is very, 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 very important.
Yeah.
When you're sending in your live video, it better be good quality. Yeah. Like they say, because this is something, and I'm just going to put it out there. I've looked into a lot of video, and anybody that's followed my channel for even this past year and a half will see a huge difference in the quality of my video. So I've looked into what's important, and they say that I think it was 80 to 90% of your video is the audio. Mm-hmm. If your video can be crap, shaky, terrible, but if the audio is good, people will stick around and watch it. Yep. Now, I'm not telling you to give them shaky, crappy audio or video, but I'm telling you, like, don't send them a clip that's like super background noise. You can hear everybody just screaming and laughing, and you can't really hear you performing on that. That's not going to help your case either. You do have to put some thought into this. You do have to have, I just think of it this way. You're expecting a venue to hire you when they don't know you and pay you money. And yet you can't expect to do that with little to no prep of a pitch on your end. Mm-hmm. Like, put the effort in, even if it's just a quiet, nice phone video in your studio or in your house where there's not a lot of noise. It doesn't like have to be direct audio, but it needs to be clean audio. Like, put some effort in, or else really you're just kind of wasting your time, and it's an insult, I feel, to the venue to be like, hey, book me, even though this video sounds like junk and then the audio is even worse, That's just my personal opinion on that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. No, I think that's, there's different levels of it, right? Like, say a quiet room with phone audio. I mean, you can go, like, we obviously have an interface set up to our setups that we can actually record our lives for the purpose of the live streaming. We use that. There's a bunch of ways to capture that stuff, but even if you're not able to do that, find a venue that you play at that's quiet, or a time that's quiet. And like, maybe this is one of those things you do to, like, when the gig is quiet, it's like you're recording yourself. So I'm going to do a couple songs that I'm really good at that are like, that 100%. where the audio quality will be nice because it's kind of a quiet audience. And sometimes actually an intimate setting where there's a few people, but they applaud. That also can kind of validate, it's a little bit of this is a recommendation from this audience, et cetera. So no, I think that's great. So
these are just important things.
I think this is
like
the longest.
Another good point.
Well, I mean, I think this is the longest part of our. This is the longest point probably of the ones we're going to cover, but I do think it's probably the most important. I think it's good to open with it because it's, you're trying to get yourself there. But I'm going to kind of continuing that theme of like getting high quality communication. I think when you're reaching out to venues, your first contact, whenever possible, and sometimes it's not possible if like you're playing far away or something like that, should be in person. Like, if you want to get to a place where you're talking to, like, you're at the venue, you've made the effort, you've shown up, they've seen your face, you actually kind of get a sense for, like, maybe you even kind of like go, this vibe is not for me or whatever. And you don't at that point. But if you go and you put in the effort, first of all, it shows that you're a real person, 3 dimensions. You're not generated by AI, for instance. But also, like, if you just cold call a place and leave a message, you have a 0.1% chance of that turning into a gig.
Yeah.
If you go in person and talk to the owner and like shake their hand or whatever and say, hey, this is or go on a night when they have music, like if they have a music calendar, go see some music out there, get a sense for the vibe, get a sense for that. You'll be making a better first impression when you play there. And you're going to be way more memorable, again, assuming they're not crazy busy or something like that. But if you go get a card from someone. I know it's physical cards, right? No one does. I like my business card. It's people, like people. Some people like the tactile card thing, but get contact from someone who maybe they're not there that night, the booker or the manager, and then go home. And even if it's late and you're tired, maybe draft an email. Hey, I was just there this evening. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for talking to me. And then your pitch is going to be like you've warmed the landing zone a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think that's great if you can do that. And I know that's not always a plausible thing to do. You're not always going to be within a distance to just drop by and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But I will say that approach really does work for a lot of people. I've actually seen it work for friends of mine. They've come out, hey, I see you're playing at blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, come out and see me. And they're like, I've been wanting to play there. I'm like, well, come out and see me. And you know what? I'll introduce you to the guy that books me and hopefully you can make your way from there. Which I don't mind doing for close friends. Obviously, I'm not just trying to do that for people I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think having that warm body in-person experience is definitely a good help.
What else you got? What else would you recommend, Christine?
You know what? I've shot myself in the foot a few times on this one. Asking for too much money up front. If you are approaching a new venue and they have no idea who you are, and you're just shooting really high, a really high dollar amount, then more than likely they're not going to hire you.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously right off the bat just way out of their range. So I do like to do some research when it comes to this part. If I have friends that have played at a venue that I've never played at, I'll ask them like, hey, if you don't mind, can you tell me what I should be charging or what you're charging so I can maybe make my pitch as well? And I wouldn't ask just anybody that. Obviously, it's people that I feel comfortable and close with, because I know that the money thing is a more personal, private thing. But a lot of venues do have a going rate, and if you can go in there with that rate that they already are, going for, and hit them up with it, then you're more likely to succeed in getting a booking, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is about what we pay artists. Cool. This is right in our wheelhouse, and they're going to be more likely to book you because of that. So that's just my experience.
No, I agree. Actually, I do want to say one thing, because I think we've gotten a couple comments from people from other countries where we talk about norms. So for instance, people don't talk about money. I want to say that's an American norm, because I do know that for some international folk, that is not the case.
Really?
Yeah, and there's kind of I don't know. I could go in the whole rabbit hole why that's a thing. But for instance, tipping. We talk about tipping culture sometimes, and for instance, in New Zealand, they don't tip at all. In Australia, it's not very common. Like there are variations here. But I agree from the American perspective that it's definitely it's awkward to talk about money with people sometimes. I try to break that ice with people a little to kind of like let me say it this way. It's bad when no one talks about money when we're all getting screwed together. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's the end of my soapbox there. It's true. There's a reason why it's not talked about, and it's not necessarily a good reason. But
in my circle, we do, like in my little, I would say, friend, colleague circle here in Arkansas, I would say there's 3 or 4 of us that are pretty good about, hey, I saw that you're playing this new venue. What are you charging? Like, what should I charge? And we help each other out.
I did this too. No, I completely agree with you. That was just a little aside, because I know that we've gotten, actually, I think our friend Lullaby had commented on something about tipping culture in Australia when we were talking about one of our episodes. But yeah, I also agree with this point. It's really funny, actually. I've come in, again, being newer, I've come in on the other side of this, as in I've asked for too little and then felt bad when they said yes. So don't do that either. But no, there's definitely something about, don't price yourself out unless it is literally like, I wouldn't play for less than this and I know I'm worth this or whatever. And you want to be, and you're comfortable taking that no. I mean, if you're trying to get to yes, one thing you can do to kind of hedge if you want to is if you're like, I don't have any data on this. None of my friends play at this place is, hey, I'm going to give you an introductory rate and we'll see how it goes. Like
I've done that. That's a great idea. Yeah.
My friend David Shannon says that like sometimes he'll do this like, we'll do a meal and a beer and a 50 or whatever. And we'll call it, we'll just see how it goes. And then you do it once and the expectation is, we don't do this twice. So that's a good way to hedge if you're, because I have literally, someone asked me what I charge and I've had a couple different people tell me you should charge more.
I've had people, tell me that I should charge more, but sometimes there are people that this is going to sound really bad. You can't trust everybody in this business. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel not sometimes, I know that I personally have experienced someone saying, oh, well, you should be charging more. And they did it just so that I wouldn't get booked at a gig that they were playing. So that I'd price I know that's a whole other episode.
I haven't had that level of subterfuge in my circles yet, but that's a fair cautionary
We're in the
tale.
South. Jeez. We're in the South. And so you really do have to be like cautious of who you're getting your information from. But I do think you're right. Like, know your worth. You don't want to undercut yourself.
Yeah.
And actually, let me throw this in here real quick. This just happened to me, and I've actually learned how to navigate the price issue. Mm-hmm. I was just getting into a new venue. I had messaged them twice, and they finally responded. And they're like, "Oh yeah, this sounds good. How much do you charge?" And I have a set amount that I usually charge in on my weekend rates. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to shoot $100 more on this venue and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I shot them a price that was $100 more than my regular. And I was fine with that because that meant if they didn't go for that price, then they would go for my regular rate anyway.
Yeah. I literally just did this to another venue as well, and to the success as well, by the way. This happened.
This happened with this venue, and I shot them that price, and I waited. I waited actually 2 to 3, I think it was 3 days, and I didn't get any response back, and I thought, I just ran them off with that price, and I said, that's okay. This is the part that actually annoys me about venues. I just thought it's stupid for them to ghost me over this.
Yeah.
But that's just how venues are. That's how bookers are. So I messaged them back and I said, hey, it's been a few days. I haven't heard back from you. And I know sometimes price can be an issue. So is there any way we can meet in the middle? Is there any way we can meet in the middle with this price, which was my regular rate? And then immediately within the hour, they responded, hey, yeah, price is an issue sometimes, blah, blah. That would be great if you could do it for this.
Yeah.
And I just thought, in my head, I just thought, why didn't you just say that was too high? Why did you make me, wait and reach out to you? But, it's the old me, the younger me, would have took that silence as, oh, well, they don't want to book me and there's nothing I can do, Now the older me, more mature and wise me, was like, hey, just reach back out to them and let them know that you'll do it for a lower rate, And so it works out. You can still get your rate if there are ways to work around it. And that is one of the ways to do it right there.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't chuckle when you say the older, wiser you, but I get it. Like, I find, honestly, in my whole life, one of the hardest things for me has been comfortable with the discomfort of negotiation. My dad was in sales. I hate that dynamic, but it's part of the business, and it's something you get comfortable with and used to after a while. Like Aaron said, and like you get a lot of no's. That's going to be it. This is a lot of shots on goal in this business. You're going to have some uncomfortable interactions. You're going to get ghosted. People are going to be like, businesses can be just as weird as people sometimes. And that's a good thing to keep in mind.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Wow. Wise words from Christine DeMeo.
My little nuggets of wisdom right there.
Okay. I got another point here. And
Okay.
you kind of touched that, I think, in one of your other answers. But like, I think networking with other artists, and I go back to, I don't know, actually, I don't know how busy Aaron's gig calendar is, but one of the things when I was starting, so 2 years and change ago, I was like trying to fill a calendar from a cold start without any idea how I was going to make a business out of this thing. And it's all horrifying. It was a horrifying, terrifying, what am I doing with my life moment. But one of the things I did, sorry, it was tough. It's the tough business to break
What
into.
am I doing with my life?
I've had the existential ennui so many times. But one of the things that I did is, okay, and don't take this mentality too far, but I would say, okay, on a given weekend where I have nothing going on, I have no gigs, I failed in my mission and get booked, I would go and find people who are similar to me. I made friends with a lot of musicians while I was kind of coming up before I decided to go full time, and I would just go catch their shows. I just go watch their shows. And, this is great for a number of reasons. And sometimes, like you said, they will recommend you. And that did happen for me. But don't go there with that expectation. Don't go there just because you want them to book you.
100%.
Go there to show solidarity. Go there to bond with a musician. Go there to make their day. Honestly, we spend a lot of time playing to people who don't care what we do. It's nice when another musician comes to the gig. And then probably you will, in the course of doing that, get a sense for the venue and figure out what it is they're looking for, find out what kind of songs your friends are playing or whatever like that. There's so many little benefits and little gains. But yes, one of them sometimes is it will help you get ins in the door on how to get booked. It will also help you network with people who are going to be useful subs, which is something we've talked about, I think, a few different episodes ago as well. So I think that the idea of like networking with other musicians, both to find venues and just generally improve your network is people will vouch for you. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I think a great, I don't think I know. This is how I got booked in the bar scene. Going to these open jam nights. I remember I was working over at are we allowed to say certain retailers' names on this?
I don't know. Just say a retailer and it's business type or vertical or whatever they call it.
Yes, it's a retailer it's a techie retailer, and I was working for this company I worked there for a while.
In the electronics store space or something like that? Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was working there, and I remember I took off a whole year from playing music. Like, I didn't do anything. I was mad at the world at music. That's for another day. But then finally, I started getting the itch to play, and I thought, I don't want to play. Well, for me, I didn't want to play in church anymore. I was like, I want to make money. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start off, and I don't know anybody in the bar scene. I don't know any of these musicians around here. I started going to these open jam nights. I was a new kid. Nobody knew who I was out there, but I went and, sign up on the list, and I did it regularly for probably a year and started actually building a network of people that liked what I did, and they people started to see what I could do, and that I played guitar and sang. And so it was just like marketing, building that, what's the word I'm looking for? Visibility. Mm-hmm. People were actually starting to see, oh, well, there's this new girl, she plays guitar, blah, blah. And so that gave me traction. And so other people started to see who I was, venue owners, and then they were like, hey, what about that girl that goes to the jam? And then they'd hit me up for gigs. So it really is a great way to get your foot in the door, and to not just have to sit there and listen to another local artist, which is fun. But if you're itching to play and you're wanting people to see what you can do, those open jam nights and open mic nights are a great way to get your foot in the door, and a great way to build visibility in your musical community.
I completely agree. That's actually a great point. And if you're doing like an open mic night and you find a way to loop without taking 5 minutes to set up, people will think, wow, that's neat. You'll get a lot of musicians paying attention to you.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's definitely like I said, it's how I started getting booked in the bar scene and getting booked in other venues. So it's a good way to go about it. I'm trying to think. Another good point, if I was really to think about it, is I guess I kind of touched on it in the last point, was just the follow up.
Yeah.
Once you've reached out to a venue, now I'm gonna dare to say, don't follow up more than twice. Follow up more than twice, you look desperate, and you're becoming a nuisance. And you do need to wait. Like let's say you've reached out to a venue on Monday. I would not reach out again until Friday. Personally, you have to let them know, hey, I've reached out to you. I'm not too desperate. I'm not going to be blowing you up in a day or two. I've got better things to do. I'm in demand. I'm going to wait. And then if you still haven't heard from them by Friday, I think it's a good amount of time that's passed to say, hey, just following up. Don't know if you saw my last message. I just wanted to see if we could get something booked or if you're interested. And, like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing one more follow-up. But I think when you start doing more than two, you need to, I don't know, in my opinion, I'm just like, they don't want to book you, especially if you've seen that they've read it or something. There is it's a fine line to dance around. It feels like a dance. Does it feel like a dance to you?
Yeah, it's a little too adjacent to dating. Honestly, sometimes it's got the same kind of like that. You mentioned ghosting already. I mean, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, it is.
No, 100%. I mean, I do think, it is, one good follow-up. I think we actually talked about exactly this topic. So I don't know if we've mentioned this or not, but before you and I became friends, you were actually kind of a coach for me for a while. We had a couple sessions where I asked you questions because I was trying to figure out the business. I'm like, I'm going to ask this talented lady in Arkansas, and maybe she can help me figure this out. And we talked about this, the idea of only responding twice, following up twice. And I think that's actually really good. And it is a good, I used to have a little board of places I've reached out to and just first try, second try. And then I would just throw them into, okay, no, we're not going to, unless they reach out to me, which can happen. Oh, hey, sorry, we were renovating our kitchen or whatever. And then we're just getting back to people, that can happen. Yeah, there's a lot of it, a lot of, this business and the getting gigs thing is real. It's like planting seeds. It's like gardening, honestly. You're just trying to kind of throw those seeds out there and make sure that, give them time, and some are going to be the best gigs you do, and some are going to go nowhere. They're going to die in the ground, basically.
It's funny because one of these new venues that I just booked, I've reached out to them before over 2 years ago. And I never got a response. And I thought, okay, you know what? It's been enough time. 2 years is a good amount. I'm going to reach out again.
Yep.
And when I did, they responded. And I'm actually booked there now. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah. So I like to keep I really should keep a spreadsheet. I should keep a spreadsheet
Welcome
of these
to the
venues.
Dark side. We have cookies.
Yeah, I should keep a spreadsheet, but I do keep a mental catalog of venues that I've reached out to before and never gotten a response. And after a year or so of time has gone by, I do try again.
Yeah.
So I don't, but it can't be harassing them, back to back until they book you. Actually, I'm not booking like you are.
Yeah.
But I am close with some venue owners that book local music, and we're chummy. We sit around and chat before I play, and they'll tell me, God, so and so, they have blown my phone up for the past 6 months about playing here, and I have ignored them and ignored them and ignored them. And I am finally just going to give them a date, let them play, and then tell them they're not a good fit. And I was just like, good God, holy moly, good Lord.
Do you think that works out to
if you just told them the first time, but
do you think that works
how
out
people roll.
Do you think that works out to a success for the musician? Is aha, it worked.
I know, but You know what? That's not the way to go about it. Like I said, it's a terrible way to go about it. But some artists just they don't get it. There is, like you said, it is like dating, and there is a certain amount of tact that you have to use and finesse when you're wooing a venue to book you.
How often, how frequent, like how many times, how frequently you're yes, 100%. In fact, I'm going to just piggyback on this because I think we've kind of walked into like the last thing I was going to say. And I do think, by the way, just based on the way that Aaron phrased his comment, that he's probably pretty good at this, but I wasn't when I started. Which is like when you're trying to introduce yourself to venues, whether you're in that conversation in person or in an email or whatever, don't be too eager. And don't be too defeatist. There's like an interesting, like stoic line you need to walk there. What's worked for me as I've gotten the confidence that I'm trying to like project, right? Like when I started out, I will just say like, I think this is pretty common. Anyone trying to do music for a living or any skilled performance is there's this imposter syndrome. Like, oh man, why are they going to want to book me? I'm just this person who's like flailing or whatever. And you got to get over that at some point, right? If you're out there doing it, you can't lean into that at all. You can't say, "Oh my God, well, I'd love to play for you." I mean, I'm not good, but don't say stuff like that. That's the defeatist side of things. And don't do what we were just talking about, like blowing up someone's phone or being too eager. What I've found for me is like, hey, how's it going? I see you have music here. I'm just a local musician, professional musician if you want. I think I'd be a great fit for this. Here's a card. I've got some samples. Just let me know. I'd love to play for you guys and see if something works. And I really appreciate what you got going on here. Appreciate the vibe. Compliment the venue, whatever. And then walk out. That's been by far the most successful way I've had of like, which is like, in my heart might be doing like backflips or something like that, or I guess it's stomach. That's usually how it works. Heart backflips are probably bad for you. But like, like this idea that, like inside I might be like, okay, here we go. Like I got one shot at to like do this right, practice it. Right. But like, there is something like, I might actually be kind of eager. I might actually be kind of like, oh my God, here we go. Here's another no. Those are like real doubts that creep in. Or motivations, but they aren't they shouldn't motivate the way that you're perceived in that moment. You should just be direct, be real, maybe be a little flattering to yourself because you're probably your own worst critic most of the time for most people. Yeah. But like, just tell them what you can do for them. Be a real normal person that's not going to blow up their phone and let what will be. Yeah,
100%. I think these are all really good points to abide by or go by, because I know personally, and I know for you from this conversation and just from us talking, for however long we've been talking now, that these points really work. We're not just spouting off things like, oh, hey, do this. We've never tried it. No, we've tried it. We've done them.
Try this and get back to us. Let us know how that goes for you. Oh, interesting. And we're just doing science through all y'all.
Yeah. Like, hey, Google says this, like, no, let me tell you, Christine DeMeo will tell you that this approach worked and this approach did not work. So, I just think too, the more preparation you put into your pitch and the more purposeful you can be, the more success you're going to have. Yeah. Obviously, what do they say? Plan or a failure to plan is a plan for failure. So truly, like, map this out. If it's worth your time of trying to get the gig, put some effort into it. Map it out. Make sure you're ready to do your pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you're full of wisdom and phrases today, DeMeo.
I am. I'm very full of them.
No,
and that's all I got. Don't worry, I'll keep the rest to myself.
No, we gotta get them all out eventually. No, I completely agree. And it's tricky. I mean, I'll say it's tricky. I mean, like the attitude. The fact is, like, you're gonna get a lot of no. That's just the way this goes.
Yeah.
One of the things that's it's funny when I'm playing at a venue and even someone like really likes what I did. They like I did a good performance and like take a card. Oh, we're gonna do this party. I probably have to work on some like follow up or like call to action there. Cause like 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 of those turns into a gig. So it's like, I still take it as a positive because someone might remember that this person, and they look you up and they, a year or two later after the party, they're like, oh, we want to have you for this thing. Again, planting seeds. But like, it's still a good thing to take those shots on goal. You're getting practice at doing the thing, getting practice at like all these skills that are going to ultimately get you in the door. But you just gotta let each individual like result kind of be what it's going to be, you can't be too results oriented on this. Like, you did this thing and it was like you blew up this person's phone and seemingly they give you a gig. So obviously it's working. Don't do that.
Yeah. You know what? There's a point real quick that I wanted to throw in there, and it goes along with your visibility.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a Facebook page, a website, an Instagram, or like a YouTube or something, and you're not active on there, you can't expect to get gigs. How is the venue going to trust that you're going to promote that you're playing there? There's no visibility of you online, and we live in a very online world. You have to have some online visibility. You need to have some sort of a social media presence. You need to be active on there. You cannot expect venues or bookers to book you off of your word. There has to be some sort of online presence. I do really want to emphasize that, because we live on our phones. It really just, it is what it is. So that's my last point. Online presence, marketing. Like I said, it builds credibility between you and the venue. They will trust that you have an online presence, that you're going to market your show to your audience, and that there will at least be some people seeing that you're going to be playing at their venue and that you'll bring that business in.
Yeah.
So that is a very important one.
No, and I think that's I usually run into people that don't have that. People older than me, I'd say. I'll just say I'm 50. So like, there's the generation kind of just a little bit older than me is a generation that did not grow up with the internet, and so maybe doesn't have that muscle the way that millennials and younger tend to have it. And I think that's it's a good thing. You have, even if it's just like a website that exists that like has a calendar that is up to date. That's something. And it has like, you can look at either of our websites and get like a sense of what that looks like, honestly.
Yeah. Even if you just had a Facebook, like I said, at least it's something that they can see, that you are, you have visibility and you are going to market your gig there.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina, I don't know. I think we could probably talk about this one quite a bit longer, and I think there's lots of like little things around the edges, but hopefully this is like a good framework to think about how to give yourself better chances. Yeah,
I hope we covered some good ground and we were able to answer Aaron's question.
Yeah,
and I'm so proud of him for finding our podcast. I'm a real big Aaron Lehmann Loops fan, actually. I just want to say this. If you're not a subscriber to Aaron Lehmann Loops, you need to go hit him up, because that dude is pretty dang talented.
Yeah.
And we enjoy his live streams. I think I can speak for both of us really on that.
Yeah, he's got like a cool audio visual kind of thing going on too.
Yeah, he does. I like that.
So it's pretty neat. Anyway, Aaron, thanks for the topic. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, obviously we appreciate comments and likes on the YouTube, but also if you have any putting reviews or comments on any of the episodes on any of the audio platforms, that's also awesome.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate you guys, and that's really all I got for you today. So I'm gonna call it, and I'll just see you guys next time.
Me too. All right, Christine, we'll catch you next time. Y'all have a good one.
All right, Rick. We'll see you later.
Cheers.